The Ryzen 7 9700X is one of the newest AMD CPUs in the market, so if you're looking to buy one and get the best gaming PC build around this CPU, then this is going to be the perfect video for you. So I will show you the best gaming PC builds for different budgets with the Ryzen 7 9700X, and keep in mind that these components are the ideal ones if you want to have no bottlenecks and a great gaming experience around this new CPU from AMD. Now, I will also give you my honest opinion on whether you should buy this CPU or not, and give you some alternatives. I will show you the level of performance that you can achieve with each system in different resolutions, and the link to all of these gaming PCs will be down below in the video description. My name is Valentino. With that being said, let's start. The first system is the cheapest 9700X gaming PC. I wouldn't go any lower than this because it just doesn't make any sense, because you are already spending over $300 on the 9700X, so trust me, you do not want to get this CPU on a tight budget because it's not going to make a difference. Anyway, the cheapest one is this one right here, and this one is the 1080p Ultra / 1440p high gaming system. The reason why you can play any game at 1080p very high FPS is because you get the RX 6750 XT graphics card, but you can also play at 1440p with no issues. In fact, on a test from TechSpot, even though the 6750 XT was not there, the 6700 XT was there, and the 6750 XT is about 6% faster, so you can expect around 5 FPS more on average than the 6700 XT. So at 1080p on ultra settings, you are able to average around 100 FPS, which is a very high number considering the type of games that are being tested. And then if you want to play at 1440p in these high demanding games, you can expect about 70 plus FPS on average, or even higher if you want to turn on FSR, which is the upscaler from AMD. That being said, with this system you can play at 240 plus FPS on average when it comes to esports shooters. Now for the rest of the components, you get 32 gigs of DDR5 memory, then you get an aftermarket CPU cooler with RGB lighting, then you get a 1TB SSD that you can always upgrade down the line if you need more storage, and then you get excellent airflow because the case is the Fractal Design Pop Mini Air. It comes with 3 pre-installed RGB fans, and the airflow is quite important inside of a system. That being said, this one is amazing and is going on a nice discount. Last but not least, you get a 650 watt power supply from MSI. Now, the total price for this PC is under $1,100, and it's actually a pretty decent price considering you are getting top tier performance at both 1080p and 1440p resolution. I wouldn't recommend you buying this system if you want to play at 4K in high demanding games. Now, if you want a better system for 1440p resolution, or if you want to play at 4K down the line, then the next system is going to be the best value 1440p gaming PC. You get, of course, the Ryzen 7 9700X. Here you get some upgraded components like the graphics card, where you want to go with the RX 7900G RE, and this is going to make all the difference when it comes to 1440p ultra settings. On that same test I've mentioned before, at 1440p high demanding games in high to ultra settings, while the 6750 XT was pretty amazing for the price, this one is much better when it comes to gaming performance. You can expect over 100 FPS on average, and then if you want to play at 4K down the line, you can expect 60 plus FPS in high demanding games, and if you turn on FSR, you can expect closer to 80 FPS, a very smooth level of gaming performance even at 4K resolution. Then in terms of esports shooters, the performance is going to be similar, so you can expect 360 plus FPS, possibly 500 plus FPS depending on the esport game. And in terms of the rest of the components, you get an upgraded CPU cooler for the Ryzen 7 9700X. On top of that, you get RGB in your RAM kit, so you get the same 32 gigs of RAM of DDR5 memory, but this time with RGB. Looks amazing. And then you get 2TB of SSD instead of 1TB. And last but not least, you get an A tier rated power supply from NZXT, and this is an 850 watt power supply, and the total price for this one is under $1,400. By the time of filming is $1,350 to be exact. Now maybe when you're watching this video the price is different, so I do recommend you checking the latest prices and availability from the links down below. And then if you want the Ryzen 7 9700X in a high-end PC, so you have more money to spend, then I do recommend you getting the RTX 4070 Ti Super for the graphics card, which is a 1440p maxed out GPU that can also run any game at 4K. In fact, at 4K resolution, you can expect 70 plus FPS, native resolution with no DLSS, so if you turn on DLSS, the FPS number is going to be higher, and the 4070 Ti Super is also excellent when it comes to ray tracing performance, content creation applications. So if you're a content creator and you also want to do gaming at a high level, this system is actually pretty amazing. And then when it comes to 1440p resolution on high demanding games, you can expect well over 120 FPS on average, very high FPS when it comes to 1440p, and in terms of esports games, you can expect 500 plus FPS at 1440p depending on the esports shooter in competitive settings. For the rest of the components, you get a 360 all-in-one liquid cooler, total overkill for this Ryzen 7. Then you get an upgraded motherboard, which is also ideal for future upgrades. You get a 2TB Gen 4 SSD instead of Gen 3, which is going to be perfect if you're a content creator. Now for gaming, this doesn't make any difference when it comes to your FPS, but for content creators, this actually makes a difference. Then you get the NZXT H7 Flow RGB, which is this one that you see right here, has plenty of airflow. I've had this case for a long time now, and trust me, it's pretty amazing. And then you get the same 850 watt power supply. Now in terms of pricing, this system is definitely not cheap, going for around $1,800. So it is quite expensive, but if you have around $1,800 to spend and you want a nice system for content creation, gaming, productivity work, for both 1440p and 4K resolution, this is going to be a perfect computer for you. Now, I want to give you my opinion on the Ryzen 7 9700X, and then I will give you some alternatives. The Ryzen 7 9700X, in my opinion, is not horrible, especially if you are, for example, a content creator. On a test from Hardware Unboxed and Adobe Premiere, you can see that the 9700X is actually competing with pretty high-end CPUs in the market that are usually more expensive, and then is also pretty good when it comes to AI work and machine learning. I am not saying this CPU is bad, by all means. I see the usage of this CPU, once again, especially if you're a content creator, but then if you want to focus on gaming and maybe content creation and productivity work second, well, then the 9700X, in my opinion, becomes irrelevant. I just wouldn't buy this CPU for gaming first, considering that you can get a much faster performance by going with a slightly slower CPU and a much faster GPU, and then the total price for the system is going to be about the same price. I will give you 3 new systems, and the only thing that I'm going to change is the CPU and GPU combo. So for the cheapest system, if you change from the 9700X to the Ryzen 5 7600, and then you upgrade your GPU from the 6750 XT to the RX 7800 XT, the total price is going to be the same. This one is $1,075 by the time of filming. And in terms of gaming performance, with the system that you were going with before, with the 9700X, you were able to average around 100 FPS. And then with the 7800 XT, you can average around 137 FPS. That's almost a 40% difference. So here you see what I mean. Then if we do the same thing with the 1440p system, and instead of going with the 9700X, we go with the Ryzen 5 7600, which by the way is also pretty decent at content creation and productivity work. The price is going to be actually cheaper because the main PC build with the 9700X was about $1,400. So here you are saving about $40, and you are getting the RX 7900 XT for the graphics card instead of the RX 7900 GRE. And the 7900 XT is about 15% faster to the 7900 GRE. So even though the difference is not mind-blowing, this PC is actually cheaper, so you are saving money and getting faster gaming performance. And then with the last system, with the high-end PC, instead of going with the 9700X, you want to replace the CPU and go with the Ryzen 7 7800 X3D. So here we do not change the graphics card, we only change the CPU, but this is going to make a huge difference in high CPU demanding games, especially esports shooters, where you go from about 540 FPS to 580 FPS average, so that's almost a 40 FPS difference. And on a 13 game average from Hardware Unboxed, you can see that the Ryzen 7 7800 X3D is able to average 180 FPS, while the 9700X about 150 FPS. So that's a 30 FPS difference for the same price, because as of right now, the 7800 X3D is actually going for a cheaper price than the 9700X because there's an extra coupon on Amazon for about $45 less. Let me know what you guys think, and remember that the alternatives will be down below in the description as well in case you want the best gaming performance for the price. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.